Okay. That was a really great discussion. I didn't want to bore people with more election integrity stuff if they didn't want to hear it, but I have to share something. Okay. And if anybody happens to see this and wants to join in, please by all means send me a tweet at me or something. Hang on, let me share this in Truth Bomb. Okay. Okay. So, Committee on House Administration with Chairperson Zoe Lofgren. So it wasn't listed on the site anywhere who else was part of this committee. So I called and found out it was Raskin of Maryland, Susan Davis, G.K. Butterfield of North Carolina, Marcia Fudge of Ohio, and Pete Aguilar of California. And there's only one Republican thus far, Rodney Davis from somewhere. Okay. So, bear with me. I'm going to share this so I can get my share screen working. Okay. I think I got this right. Hopefully this will show properly. Okay, and I don't know if YouTube strikes count on this or not, but oh well. Okay, Lofgren's statement on confirmation. Where was it? Here we go. Okay, so H.R. 1, the For the People Act, will clean up corruption in Washington, make it easier to vote, and give everyday Americans more power in our democracy. Okay, sounds good. Promote integrity. Except H.R. 1 fights back against Republicans' assault on voting rights. I mean, yes, that's true, but it's not just Republicans. And I think that's a problem, as I've mentioned before. Election integrity should not be partisan. Okay. But let's go back to this video. So, actually, let me back up a bit. Okay. Russiagate. Everything with election integrity is resting on that. What DHS tells the states, you know, this whole business of, they said that 21 states were targeted. First it was hacked, and then it was they're targeted. I'm going to show some clips in a minute that where Krebs of DHS talks about targeting. So I'm going to show this clip from here because of some people that are in the video, actually. Let's see here. I'm going to play the whole thing.
Thank you all for being here. I'm honored to be here with some of the members of the House Democratic Caucus and some of the leadership of committees of jurisdiction to deal with this very important issue of integrity in government. Especially want to acknowledge the work and leadership of Congressman John Sarbanes over the years. He developed an initiative that gathered steam across the country. 100 candidates across the country signed a letter saying they wanted H.R. 1 to be one of the first orders of this new Congress. Thank you, John Sarbanes. We're joined by Jerry Nadler, the chair of the Judiciary Committee you'll be hearing from, Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, chair of House Administration Committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings from Oversight and Reform, John Sarbanes, I acknowledge, the chair of the Democracy Reform Task Force, Congressman John Lewis, our hero
I see the
on
curly
all
hair.
subjects, and
Look who we have here.
David Price, who's been a champion on this for decades, and Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, member of the freshman class.
Integrity group, yes. Okay, sure.
Who will represent the views of that very transformative, diverse, beautiful, energetic freshman class that is energized.
Now, she mentions Elijah Cummings. Just bear with me, and this is kind of a jump, but I have to share something else here. Oh, damn, where is it? Hang on. Just determined to do this by myself. Okay, hang on. I got it. Okay. Here we go. You heard Pelosi mention Cummings, and he's from this House Committee on Oversight and Reform. Okay, I'm curious to see whether or not some of these links at the bottom here I called and said they weren't working. So I'll check in just a second, see if they are. Okay, so this says Hurd, Gowdy, and other Republicans blocked testimony from intelligence director days after promising vigorous public oversight. So I've talked about this quite a bit, but I just haven't seen anyone else really talking about it. I think it's really important. There were hearings, there were election security hearings where they were trying to get DHS to actually give them the evidence of Russia interfering, hacking, or whatever. And they never would. Let's see. Let me see if any of these work. Any of these links work. No, probably not. Oh, wait. Okay. This one's working. Dear Mr. Chairman. Okay, this is a year ago now. Over a year ago. Dear Mr. Chairman, we are writing to request that you issue a subpoena to finally compel the Department of Homeland Security to produce documents it has been withholding from Congress for months relating to Russian government-backed efforts to monitor, penetrate, or otherwise hack at least 21 state election systems in the 2016 election. Despite repeated requests over the past several months, the department has refused to provide the Oversight Committee with this information, and to the best of our knowledge, has not provided it to any congressional committee. We have been extremely patient, but we can no longer allow the Trump administration to defy our requests and withhold this critical information from Congress. The intelligence community has warned us that Russia intends to continue interfering with elections to the U.S. and around the world. It is our responsibility. Okay, blah, blah, blah. If you decline to issue this subpoena yourself, then we request that you allow committee members to debate and vote on a motion to subpoena the department for these documents. Okay, so they've asked over and over and over again. On November 29th, 2017. Oh, okay, wait a second. Let me go back. October 20th, 2017. Ranking member Elijah Cummings and IT subcommittee ranking member Robin Kelly sent a letter requesting copies of the notifications the department provided to these states. In other words, they just wanted to know, like, What did you alert them with? What was the content of these notifications? As well as copies of all documents related to the Russian government-backed attempts to hack state election systems. They requested these documents by October 31st, 2017. In response, DHS produced just one email with a short script that department employees apparently read over the phone to state election officials. This script is 13 sentences long and does not refer to any specific state or attack. Rather, it is a generic script that provides no specific information. On November 29th, during a joint subcommittee hearing on the cybersecurity of voting machines, Ranking Member Kelly questioned Christopher Krebs, the senior official performing the duties of the undersecretary. Okay. He took the letter and asked Krebs when these documents would be provided. I'm going to show some clips in a minute from these hearings. During the hearing, Mr. Krebs seemed to indicate that he could not provide the requested information because it was provided by the states as part of their, quote, confidential relationship with the department. Instead, he suggested that committee members reach back to your states to obtain the information. Okay, and then this is January, over a year ago. Please immediately produce copies of all documents related to the Russian government-backed attempts to monitor, penetrate, or hack state election systems during the presidential election campaign of 2016, including but not limited to the tools the attackers used, the tactics they utilized, the results of your conversations with these states, and the steps you took to follow up. For each of the 21 states, please provide details of your notification to state officials. Yeah, they want a date of notification, names of the state officials or offices that were notified. So let's see. Okay. Request for subpoena. Okay, let me go back. So, all right, I'm going to play, let's see, this opening statement. Here we go. Oh, come on.
I want you first,
go up
and who has seen people lynched, that on her dying bed is don't let them take the vote away from us.
I think it starts here. This only has 325 views.
So this hearing means a lot.
You know, because Russia, Rachel Maddow surely has been, like, talking about this, right?
To me personally, and I know it means a lot to every member of this body. After all, we wouldn't be here if people did not have the right to vote. So I dedicate these words to Ruth Elma Cummings. I want to thank the chairman for calling this a very important hearing. Candidly, however, it is not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. Words are cheap. This is the first time since Donald Trump was elected in 2016 that the Oversight Committee has held a full committee hearing on Russian interference in the election. It took us a year and a half to finally hold today's hearing. This hearing comes less than 4 months, 4 months before the 2018 midterm elections. And most states have already held their primaries. In addition, the chairman denied our request to invite the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to testify today. Congress needs to understand how Russia attacked our states in order to help states defend against these attacks in the future. And I'm so glad that the chairman acknowledged the fact that we're under constant attack. This ain't nothing new. And they are prepared to do it again and again and again. And they have probably learned some things from what they've done. They're going to do it even better and try to do it more effectively at is interfering with our elections the next time. Dan Coates, the director of national intelligence, recently warned that, and I quote, listen to what he said, "The warning lights are blinking red." He compared these warning signs to what we saw before 9/11. Let me repeat that. President Trump's own director of national intelligence compared our situation now to the months leading up to the attacks of September 11, 2001. Yet Chairman Gowdy would not send an invitation to ask anyone from NOD&I to testify. We understand that we may get a classified briefing at some later date, but a closed-door briefing is no substitute for a public hearing to inform the American people about what is going on. We have DHS here. We should have the intelligence community here as well. We held a subcommittee hearing in November on election cybersecurity, but it was also inadequate. Mr. Krebs, who was here from DHS, also testified in November. At that hearing, we asked him for documents showing how Russia attacked our states doing our duty as a check on the executive branch. At first, Mr. Krebs gave us only a single document. Later, he gave us 50 pages, much of which was already public. Thank you very much. We sent a letter asking Chairman Gowdy to subpoena the documents DHS is withholding, but he ignored it. We sent another letter asking him to let us vote on a subpoena, but he denied our motion. Because this issue is so important, we joined with the ranking members of other key committees and sent a letter to Speaker Paul Ryan. We implored him to help us get from the Trump administration these documents about how Russia attacked our states. But all we got was silence. Silence. Radio silence. It was not until Special Counsel Robert Mueller indicted 12 Russian military officials on July 13 that we finally learned something more about the specific attacks Russia launched against our states. The Trump administration withheld this information from us. We should not have been forced to read about it in a press release. DHS and other agencies should have provided that information months ago. Again, that is our job, to check the executive branch. We can't even get the information, both classified and unclassified. So we could have worked with states to help secure their election systems. It is clear that the House Republicans do not want information about Russia attacked our states in the last election, which seems like a pretty basic first step. Pretty basic, just getting the information. When you're trying to help these very states defend against Russian attacks in the next one. But even worse, the House Republicans are taking active steps to hurt state efforts to protect their election systems. Just last week, House Republicans blocked all attempts to provide additional funding to secure state election systems. They argued that states do not need more money because they could cover these security upgrades on their own. I have a letter here that we just received yesterday, completely contradicting that Republican talking point. And I ask unanimous consent to make it a part of the official hearing record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
This letter is from a bipartisan group of 21 state attorneys general, both Republican and Democrat. They expressed, and I quote, grave concern over the threat to the integrity of the American election system, end of quote. And they asked for additional funding. We are concerned that many states lack the resources and tools they need to protect the polls. Additional funding for voting infrastructure will not only allow states to upgrade election systems, but will also allow for a comprehensive security risk assessment. Let me conclude with this. Some Republicans have recently begun to issue more critical statements about President Trump and Russia. Chairman Hurd wrote an op-ed in the New York Times asserting that our committee must conduct vigorous and public oversight, and this is his quote. Now, I didn't say this. Chairman Hurd said this. I believe that lawmakers must fulfill our oversight duty as well as keep the American people informed of the current danger. As a member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, I strongly believe in the importance of Congress's oversight responsibilities and will work with my colleagues to ensure that the administration is taking the Russian threat seriously, end of quote. I agree with every syllable Chairman Hurd wrote. I think he's telling the truth, but it would be much more powerful with action to back it up. We need all of our Republican colleagues to conduct oversight, not just use strong words. Support our request to subpoena the Trump administration for documents it is withholding about the Russian attacks. Support our request for the Director of National Intelligence to testify in public. Vote in favor of additional funding for states that desperately need it. We don't need talk. We need action. This should be a bipartisan issue. And Mr. Chairman, you are absolutely right. This must be a bipartisan issue. This must be an issue where we put our party hats to the side. And we have less than 4 months to help our states before the next election. And with that, I yield back.
Okay. So, in other words, DHS would never give up whatever the evidence was. And, all right. I'm going to play a clip of, I think it's Lacey Clay, I believe is his name. Okay, so here's Raskin. He's on that other new committee. Or, I guess it's a new committee, newly appointed people. Okay, here we go. I just have to play this. Alright. Here we go. Just listen. You'll see where I'm going with this.
Gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Krabs, I'd like to discuss some documents about Russian attacks on state election systems in 2016. Documents that DHS and the administration have refused to provide to this committee. You are familiar with an October 2017 letter to DHS requesting these documents from Ranking Member Cummings and Subcommittee Ranking Member Kelly, correct?
Yes, sir. In fact, I reviewed that letter this morning. Yes, sir.
And you are familiar with the official questions for the record requesting these documents, accompanied by a letter signed by IT Subcommittee Chair Will Hurd, following your testimony at the joint subcommittee hearing last fall. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, back in late January, all Oversight Committee Democrats wrote to Chairman Gowdy seeking a subpoena for these documents, and we were ignored. Ranking Member Cummings, along with ranking members of 5 other House committees, wrote to Speaker Ryan asking for his assistance in obtaining these documents. They were ignored. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that these 4 letters be made part of the official record for today's hearing.
Without objection.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Krebs, back at that November hearing, you stated, and I quote, "If you'll permit me to go back, and I commit to you that we will have a more fulsome answer for you." On February the 6th, 2018, DHS provided approximately 50 pages of documents, most of which were already publicly available. The production did not include any classified documents, nor did it include documents about the precise nature of these attacks, the number of times these states were targeted, or when they were targeted. And this has been 8 months. That is not a mere fulsome answer to our request. It is just more documents that we did not ask for and that do not answer our questions. Why are you withholding from Congress documents about how Russia attacked our state?
Sir, I don't believe I'm withholding any information. I need to go back and review the answers that we provided to those letters. It has always been my commitment to approach this manner in a bipartisan manner, or a nonpartisan manner, in fact, because I see this as a matter of American security, national security. So if you'll permit me, I'd like to go back and look at the answers and also the range of briefings. As I understand with my staff, we provided close to 30, if not more, classified and unclassified briefings. I personally participated in the House-wide classified briefing earlier this summer, late spring, and provided information on what we were doing and what we saw. So, if you're not satisfied with the information, certainly we can go back and look at what we had provided previously.
Well, we are asking what you at the Department of Homeland Security determined about exactly what the Russians, how they attacked us.
Yes, sir, and I think that information is in the intelligence assessment, the intelligence community assessment. The unclassified version provides a significant amount of detail. I mean, the catch here is that on the classified side, in terms of the tactics and techniques that they used against our state networks, it's not highly classified information. It is technical. In fact, I think the recent indictments provide additional information. So,
well, how about you initiating the interagency process to obtain clearance to give us these documents? Can you do that?
Sir, I will once again commit to you that we'll go back and take a look at this and make sure you get what you need.
You know, in fact, we learned more about what happened in Illinois from reading Special Counsel Mueller's indictment of the 12 Russian intelligence officers than we have received from you. We are just asking for some cooperation here, and for you to actually share with us what you know. That's our function, as Mr. Lynch said. We have the oversight function, and we really need some cooperation. Mr. Hurd signed a letter asking for these documents. I will yield. Well, I don't have time to yield to him now, but thank you anyway.
Okay. There's one. All right, where's my one? Krebs. Okay, here we go. I love this one. So, okay. Krebs talks about scanning, and I've talked about this on our open forum thing on Saturday nights, but he talks about scanning and makes a big deal out of scanning, that scanning, that was what the Russians did, basically. Because they're not giving up any other information or any other proof to this committee or to the public. We're supposed to just accept without evidence. So here's where he kind of like talks about scanning, that it's everything yet it's nothing, which is, I don't know, amusing, I guess. Here we go.
I recognize the ranking member.
Yeah, I agree with you, because we've been in some hearings, some briefings, who really laid out some kind of scary scenarios. Well, you're official now, Mr. Krebs. Welcome. Just from a historical standpoint, how many states have we identified that the Russians did some form of intrusion in the last elections?
So when we think back to 2016, there are a couple ways we have to kind of hash out the information. And it's all based on, frankly, awareness, visibility into activity and infrastructure. So we've thrown around numbers. 18 were either accessed or scanned or targeted, or 21, whatever it is. Last summer we gave 21. That number of 21 that were scanned, that information is based on the telemetry, the visibility into traffic over networks that we had visibility to last year. If you were to ask me what I really thought happened, I would suspect, and Jeanette...
okay, I just have to pause right here. I don't think anybody asked him what he thought happened. They're asking him for evidence. Nobody should care what Krebs thought happened. Okay.
Assistant Secretary Manfred said this. I believe Secretary Nielsen said this too. I would suspect that the Russians probably scanned all 50 states and 5 territories and the District of Columbia. Scanning. It happens every day. It's an automated process. I think based on the 21 number, that's on what we were able to see.
So scanning happens every day, yet scanning is all we've got as evidence to tell you that Russia, targeted, hacked. So it's everything and nothing at the same time. Okay.
We have better visibility going into 18. We basically will have access to close to 50% of 100% visibility into at least this.
Okay, and that's where I stopped that clip. Let's see if there was. Okay, I think there's one more good one I would like to play.
Krebs, a number of us have repeatedly asked your department for documents showing how Russia attacked state election systems in 2016. Well, those documents, despite our requests, have been withheld since last October. 11 days ago, we finally got some information, but not from you. It was from the indictment filed by the special counsel, Mr. Mueller, against 12 Russian military intelligence officials. Why did DHS withhold this information when we were able to read about it when DOJ released it in the indictment statement?
Yes, sir. So thank you. That's actually I hate saying a nuanced answer because nuance is our enemy here. The distinction is that the FBI provided investigators to special counsel Mueller's investigation. Those investigators have focused on developing the case against Russian operatives. Their information as a result of the investigation stays within the case building that special counsel Mueller has developed.
Can someone please drop him back off at the frat house? I mean, what the hell?
Has not crossed over the firewall as it is
Oh.
into the rest of the administration. So there were details within that indictment that I had not seen before. Now, that is not to say that if they had found something about an imminent attack that they wouldn't have shared, because they would have.
Well, let me. So your department was kept out of the loop by the Department of Justice.
By Special Counsel Mueller's investigation, they had an investigation to conduct on past activities. I had information sufficient to work with the various secretaries of state and the county officials to provide them cybersecurity expertise.
So, according to that indictment, in July of 2016, Anatoly Kovalev, a Russian intelligence officer, and his co-conspirators, quote, hacked the website of a state board of elections and stole information related to approximately 500,000 voters in that state, including their names, addresses, partial social security numbers, dates of birth, and driver's license numbers. Were you aware of that fact before the indictment?
Sir, I was aware of the fact that there was a state board of elections that was compromised. The Russians, it's in the intelligence community assessment. That, as I understand, is the state of Illinois. So we have been working closely with Illinois since 2016, frankly, on the incident.
So, presumably, you could have answered our queries about documents going back to October, at least with respect to this, since you knew about it, and you knew the state, which was not identified, I believe, in the indictment.
That is correct, sir, but Illinois has come forward and said that they believe that they are
Right.
the victim, and they have also said that, yes, they were the state in the ICU.
But couldn't you have been responsive to our outstanding document request, at least with respect to this?
Sir, I need to go back and look at the information we provided. I know that we have provided a number of classified and unclassified briefings to the Congress that has included that information.
Well, I guess I'm being a little more specific. There have been document requests by members of this committee. This is the Committee of Oversight in the United States Congress.
Yes, sir.
And gosh, I remember, maybe you do too, Mr. Cummings and Mr. Gotti. I mean, all kinds of times in the previous administration when, even though there might have been tens of thousands of pages of documents provided, that was often not adequate, and threats of contempt and subpoenas were issued because the entirety of the document request had not been met for whatever reason. Lord, I seem to remember excoriating, for example, the former IRS Commissioner John Koskinen in that regard, even though he sometimes had physical difficulty in producing the documents we wanted. That didn't matter. But in your case, we've got outstanding requests going back to October. Well, let me ask you this. You were prepared to promise at this hearing that you will cooperate with document requests to the best of your ability going forward.
I have always made that pledge, and I will continue to do so. Yes, sir.
All right, because we're probably going to want to know more about the Illinois case and whether there were other states like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I know my own home state of Virginia was also probed.
Okay, so they get into talking about Illinois, and there's something that I can't find right now. So I think I'm going to stop here. It's getting late anyway, but I'm going to pick up with this probably tomorrow night on our kind of open forum. Oops, screen, and I'll find this. There was something with Illinois where the story was released like on a Friday, and then by Monday they had retracted and said no, we didn't have our systems hacked. I don't remember exactly. I've got to go and find it. So I, as a Russiagate skeptic, I think it's got to be either one of two things. Either there is no evidence for Russian hacking, and that's why they stalled. They didn't provide this committee ever with any real evidence. Or they did, but there's stuff that they don't want to reveal. Like if they revealed the evidence that Russia intruded, which I just don't buy it, but if that they're protecting other things. So, yeah, I think I'll just pick up with it tomorrow. So, oh, wait. One thing. My point of bringing up that committee and the new committee is, oh, wait. Yep, before I go, let me do this. Okay. So this committee, wait, that's not it. Hang on. I think this is it. Okay. Share again. Okay. That's not it. Okay, here we go. All right, so back to this one. Where is the actual vote? I gotta find the actual vote. Subpoena to DHS. I can't find it now. Okay, it's on video and then there's a document, but I don't know where it is right now. I'll find it for tomorrow. That basically shows how they took votes on whether to have, who is it, Coates? DNI, like, testify, and they were, I think, pretty narrowly voted down. I'm just going to admit my ignorance here. I don't know some of this information. I've got to look into it. But I don't know if all of the same people are on this committee now, or if they could do a revote on that to have Coates testify, or have, force DHS to actually provide them with some evidence. But okay, Cummings is on that committee and this new one. So why can't they just, it's all related to election integrity. Because to me, I just see there's funny stuff going on between DHS, the voting machine vendors. They're not providing evidence. What they're telling the National Association of Secretaries of State. There was, you know what, I'm just going to end here. I'll talk about it more tomorrow. There was something I learned on the Secure Our Vote webinar the other night about Indiana, and has to do with the Secretary of State there who used to be on National Association of Secretary of State, and they're withholding documents. So I'll just get into that tomorrow. So, okay, enough. I just had to say what I needed to say here. So let me end here. Oh, okay. I've got someone who wants to help me. Apparently I'm misunderstanding something. Okay, cool. Well, tomorrow night then we can talk about it more. I'm sure I'm not getting all of this. It's really complicated. Election integrity stuff is, the general public isn't going to understand. Like I said, I've had a crash course in it for, 8 months now. Okay, I gotta get back and log out of here. Okay. So I'm sure I'm getting things wrong. That's why I look to the experts to tell us. But the fact is, we still don't have evidence. And until we do, I don't just trust it. So, okay, that's it. Good night, if anybody's listening, other than Johnny Rebel. Thank you.